Season 1 is all about that dental school student or that new dental school grad or that transitioning dentist, pretty much giving the financial keys to success now that you're in a transition period. So let's go and hop into this episode, and we hope that you enjoy it.
Welcome to the Generational Dental Wealth Podcast. My name is Dr. Jermaine Affetti.
My name is Kingsley Affetti, CPA.
Well, we're going to have a fun conversation today.
Yeah.
King, we can go a lot of different directions with this one, but
Yeah,
this one was laid on our heart. We was in a discussion, and it came up that how do people really view their degrees, right?
Yeah.
Like the DDS or the DMD that we get as dentists, it can really be used in a lot of different ways, right?
Yeah.
We talked about different career options, but now let's talk about what kind of legacy options we have, right?
Yeah.
So the topic of today is going to be, is your degree a cash machine or is it a generational asset?
Wow.
We really want to figure it out. Like, are you using your degree as a way to just generate income and it's just substantiating your life, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? Or is it being used in a way to be able to accumulate generational assets, to be able to help the communities that you're in as a springboard for other people to now reach their oral health goals? Now, both can be intermixed with one another. And again, neither of them is right or wrong. But the goal is for us to identify so we can truly understand, do I align with what I thought I'm using my degree with, or do I need to switch things up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is a continuation, obviously, of us talking to that D4 or that new grad that's just finishing dental school that's looking for that direction. They've heard many different opinions from professors, from maybe other people that already are in practice in the environment, and we just want to really just see how we can bring another level of ideas to that type of conversation. So, you threw out a few words there, and I really want you to define it, because when I hear it, maybe I have my own definition.
Okay.
Really want you to define it. I think you said, generational asset. Did I hear that correct?
Yes.
And you said, or is this just a cash machine? Okay. Kind of break those two things down, because that's pretty much the comparison that we're talking about today. What are both of those definitions to you?
Okay, perfect. First, we're going to talk about compensation. Like, how is a dentist compensated, right? And then I'm going to backtrack into what's the difference between a cash machine or a generational asset. So basically, we're going to start with what are the different forms of compensation, right? We know the basic way is collections, right? What I end up producing, or what my hygienists end up producing, or whatever in that form, right? Meaning that effort in means payment out, right? And a very direct correlation with money. That is the simplest way to measure compensation. Now, we got to go into the deeper parts. I still remember in my MBA program when they said that compensation accounts for about 35 to 40% of fulfillment in a job. I remember that completely blew my mind, because I was thinking, like, people care about what they get paid. I mean, that is the most important thing. But come to find out, I mean, in your MBA program, you learn how to help people reach their goals, right? Yeah. And then we found out that, believe it or not, the work environment is honestly as or more important than the compensation that you receive. As long as everything is no drastic differences between them, people want to work in a productive environment. People want to feel like their opinions are valued. They want to feel like there's room for growth within their position. They want to feel like they're actually making change. That is important. That's one form of compensation. Basically, how do you feel about your job, and what kind of esteem does it bring for you, right? Now, the last source is basically, being a dentist, you have access to things that most other jobs don't. And that is lines of credit and the ability to be able to have loans of large sums. So, for instance, you have the ability to purchase a home on a doctor's loan, which can give you anywhere between $250,000 up to $2 million with very little stipulations, because as a dentist, you have the ability to pay back that loan. You have the ability to start a practice and take out a loan of $500 to $1 million with very little issues. Honestly, as long as you have the liquidity to back it up. Then you have the ability to buy, cars or personal lines of credit. So these are the three main ways of compensation. It's the clear dollar amount of how much you actually produce. It is how you make your job feel, what you get from your job, your sense of fulfillment. And number three, the assets that you're able to accumulate through your job. So now we're going to back things up, and we're going to talk about being a cash machine. Cash machine basically limits us to step one, in those steps, right? Which is the ability for a energy exchange for dollars, right? Meaning that if I want cash in, I need to press the button to get cash out. So that's the easiest way to think about it from there. Now, a cash machine has the ability to do both step 1 and step 2. You have the ability to now put energy in and get compensation out. But also you have the ability, just because it's a cash machine does not mean you can't find a sense of fulfillment through it, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people who work some very great associateships and they get a very large sense of fulfillment out of it, right? Yeah. So again, this is a good or this is a bad. It doesn't really matter which one, but the goal is for us to identify. So now we can we can self-categorize, right? Yeah. So being a cash machine, you have the ability, number one, all forms of dentistry have that for its first form, meaning put energy in and be able to get compensation out. Then hopefully we can tap into that second level, which is have that sense of fulfillment, that sense of purpose through it, right? Yeah. So now when we talk about a generational asset, it's tapping into all three. You have the ability to now put energy in and get compensation out. Number two, you're supposed to be getting a sense of fulfillment, hopefully, right? It's never promised, but hopefully you're getting a sense of fulfillment through the work that you do. And then number three, you're able to now accumulate assets through your position, because the goal is for us to leave traces of our existence, right? You don't want to have a 40-year career when you look back, there's nothing to really look upon and be able to say, that's what I end up leaving behind with the dentistry.
So pretty much what I heard you say, if I was to summarize it was, we talked about the cash machine or the generational assets.
Yes.
I believe what you were saying with the cash machine was, how can this profession, how can this degree serve me, right? How can I be compensated well? How can I find a sense of fulfillment out of it? How can I accumulate things, which is great, right? Why go through, all these years of learning and schooling to not be served? So I definitely agree with that. And I believe that the second point that you made, right, about generational assets is more so, not only how can this profession serve me, but how can I serve this profession? How can I now make it bigger than myself and do my duty, right, as a human that has the abilities and honestly the opportunities to do these things? How can I give back to the world?
Yes.
Right? How can I make this thing bigger than me? So I really appreciate the way that you kind of laid that out there. Awesome, man.
So yeah, basically when it comes to being, the first step being a cash cow, again, number one, you just have to figure out like, what do you think the value of your position is?
That's good.
I think contracts do a good job of laying out what is the value of our production, which is whatever percentage you get. But like also like, what do you get out of the energy that you're putting into your patients? You know what I'm saying? Like, because finances is such a clear cut. You put this in, you get this out. And personal sense of fulfillment is just so murky. I think because of that, we forego that part of the conversation. Yeah. And I just want to keep letting all the dentists here know, all the professionals here know that the energy you put into your patients, what you invest into them is very, very key. Because I'm not sure about y'all, but I still remember every dentist I've ever seen. I still remember my childhood dentist, I still remember her telling me, like, you have good teeth. You have nice teeth. Like, I can tell you take care of your teeth. Wow. So those small gems we get to deposit into people on a daily basis is something that should not go without being identified and seen, because you can go through your entire day and just focus on people's teeth, or you can focus on the people.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. I think you bring up a really good point, because as CPAs, we are trained to see, and just like most professionals, we're trained to see two different sides of the same coin, right? The qualitative and the quantitative. Mm-hmm. Not to throw out big words, right? When I think about qualitative, I think about quality, right? Those are things that you can't really put your finger on. It's that sense of like, this is really, I would say it's like the soft part of it, right? You can't put your finger on and say, this is exactly what this is. But the quantitative, right? That's when you can see it on a spreadsheet. This is exact numbers I'm bringing in every year. This is exact patients I'm seeing every year. These are the numbers and the metrics behind what I'm doing. That's the quantitative. And I think that piece is really important, right? I think both pieces together is what makes you a holistic, better professional in general.
And that's why I don't really like even calling you a CPA. Honestly, I consider you more of a financial therapist. Yeah. I see you as, because the career you're in, you're more of what they like to call bean counters, the ones who count up what happened last year. And I think what makes you different as a professional, you understand the profession of being able to make sure you have a proper accounting for things, but you also understand the people component of it. And you understand that the qualities that do go into these individuals, how can I put them in the best positions that put them in their strengths. Instead of giving people a general approach on things, how do I make sure that you are able to accumulate generational assets to put themselves in a different kind of playing field?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, sometimes that second piece that we're talking about, the generational assets, it can be a boring conversation sometimes. And I think for most people, whether you're in school or whatever the case is, we always hear, what can I get out of this? How does this serve me best? But the thing about generational assets and doing things that's bigger than yourself, it takes a long time. This isn't something, to Doc's point, right? He remembers his dentist when he was a child, even to this day. That was this dentist every day, consistently over years, pouring into him, encouraging him. And that may have been an investment within Doc to say, you know what, this is a profession that I enjoy. Who knows if this dentist even knows or realizes what he was even doing, right? But he was every day providing generational assets, right? And like I said, sometimes that can be a boring conversation because we live in this microwave society. We want everything today. We want it now. This is how it serves me. But when we have that long mindset, then we can really begin to do things that's bigger than us.
That's really good. Honestly, whenever I think about the generational asset component of it, again, it's not about cars, buildings, right? Yeah. It's more about the ideas that you're able to plant into people's minds. And that's why I like to think of ourselves as like apple trees, right? People come to us because they need something. If you come into a dentist, you need something, right? Dentists are not going to you. You're coming to a dentist, meaning we have the opportunity to be able to provide something that people need. And understand that when people come to us as a tree and they take our fruit as apples, they take our apples off the apple tree and they take it to wherever they go, right? We don't know what they're going to actually get from it. We don't know if they're going to just eat the apple and throw away the core, or they're going to eat the apple and plant the seeds and now make other trees from this as well. Yeah. So again, you just got to think about yourself like you're an asset that has the ability to grow exponentially. If you just made it up in your mind and say, you know what, one time a day, I'm going to sit down and truly talk to one of my patients. I'm going to learn what they like, what they dislike, and I'm going to plant a seed in their mind to make them just think about dentistry a little bit different. If we could just make it our goal, can we just help create one new dentist a day? And it can be just a dentist in their community a mother who takes care of their kids' teeth, and they are the dentist of their household. And they go extra hard to make sure my kids brush their teeth, they floss, they make sure everything is good. Or it could literally be in the sense of, I'm going to speak to a young person. I'm going to tell them, have you ever thought about dentistry as a career path? Have you ever thought about it? Because if not, listen, it's a fantastic career. We get to help people on a daily. We get to create smiles, and we get to be in our community and really be able to affect change.
Now, as far as in this conversation, financially speaking, as that new graduate, as that D4, one thing I want to encourage you is, right, as a financial professional, as a CPA myself, this conversation even extends to the people that you surround yourself financially. You're a CPA, your CFP, whoever the financials you put around or you surround yourself with, they should understand these qualitative aspects of you. Just like we talked about in last episode, right? Where do you want to live? Why do you want to do the things that you do? What are you getting out of this position? Because sometimes we only speak to some of our clients yearly, right? And sometimes, right, as a CPA, we need to do a better job in our profession of reaching out to our, dental clients, figuring out, okay, what drives you? What motivates you? Because sometimes all we see is the numbers that you give us at the end of the year, the numbers that we see on your tax returns, the numbers that we see maybe on your QuickBooks or whatever we're dealing with, and we don't get that qualitative aspect. So it may be a little bit weird saying, this is my financial professional. Why would I be talking to him about, what type of family I want to have or what type of legacy I want to live? But these are important conversations because, for instance, if this financial professional is at least up to date a few times a year on what's going on, they may be able to give you ideas financially on how you can achieve those goals, right? So I think it's very, very important in this conversation, right? And I know we're going a few different ways with it, but with that, if I was to summarize it, right, the qualitative, right? What parts of me do I enjoy that I can't necessarily put a finger on? What impact can I make? The quantitative, right? How can I be compensated well by it? How can I make sure that my work is being, recognized financially? I think it's important that you have that conversation with your financial professional so they can cover you from all angles.
Kingsley, you dropping gems today, man. Yeah. You dropping bombs today. And one of the things that I really got from what you were saying was that why would you talk to your financial advisor about your family? and like what's going on in your family life. And it's truly because finances are not handled in isolation.
They're not.
Everything feeds into each other. And I think if we're coming up to the barest of definitions between a cash machine or a generational asset, that a cash machine operates independently.
Yeah.
And a generational asset is a interwoven tool to basically substantiate the rest of someone's life.
Wow.
So when I'm thinking about exactly what you just said, why would you talk to your financial advisor about your family and your life? It's because everything plays in together. If it's just a cash machine, listen, you go to work, you punch the clock, you do what you need to do, you go home, and then, hey, dentistry is dentistry, my life is my life. But when you get into the area of generational asset, now you're taking your degree everywhere you go. You clock out, but you're still an oral health advocate everywhere you go. Yeah. You're planting seeds everywhere you go. And basically, what you're getting from dentistry is now feeding into other areas of your life. And now it becomes a passion project. It becomes a life project. Your ability to be able to plant seeds of health, oral health, advocacy everywhere you go. And again, I just want to back up one more time and really reiterate that finance is not done in isolation. If I have just one strategy and say, listen, I'm just buying houses, or I'm just mitigating taxes, or I'm just buying stocks, or I'm just buying dental practices, they have to go together and the pieces have to come together to make sure that the different areas have synergy together. When finances have synergy in your life, and that's truly what the Generational Dental Wealth Podcast is for, we want to help people find synergy. Because for too long, people have been focused on just income, or whatever it is like that, and not understanding that income is important, but synergy within your life is more important, because we're really trying to get to a point of time freedom, a point of fulfillment, and really a point of enjoyment within dentistry. So I really appreciate you bringing up that point, man. I'm gonna let you take us home.
Man, awesome. Well, today's conversation was amazing. I surely learned a lot. You know, I got a lot of different perspective and understanding. And we can't honestly wait to spend this whole season with you. So without further ado, this is the Generational Dental Wealth Podcast. I'm Kingsley Ifedi.
I'm Dr. Ifedi. Y'all take care.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.